We are flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid.
Freedom that was promised to Oceania. There is no freedom of speech, no freedom of thought, no freedom of assembly, no freedom of the press.
Freedom is slavery! Freedom is slavery! Freedom is slavery!
What remains of the ideal of peace? Universal peace, peace with our neighbors, peace to till the soil, peace.
War is peace! War is peace! War is peace!
Whole of Oceania is plunged in ignorance. Universal and abysmal ignorance. Ignorance even of the most elementary principles of democracy.
Ignorance is faith! Ignorance is faith! Ignorance is faith! Freedom is slavery! Freedom is slavery! Freedom is slavery! War is peace! War is peace! War is peace! Ignorance is faith! Ignorance is faith! Ignorance is faith!
Listen to me. Please, listen. If you don't, if you won't, if you fail to understand, then the same incredible terror that's menacing me will strike at you!
I want you to get mad. You've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Flipping the Pyramid. www.flippingthepyramid.co.uk. We aim to discover the truth about our world and the issues it faces.
It helps when your lighter works. Hello folks, welcome to Flipping the Pyramid Radio. I'm sure you guessed that, considering you would have clicked the link and got here, unless of course you're listening on the podcast. But anyway, hello and welcome to well, it's called Virtual Shamanizing for now. I might at some point change the name. Loud and clear. Cool, thank you. In the chat room, yes, the chat room is up and running. Yes, I did manage to get into it, so hopefully if you want to join in with the chat, see if you can get in there. Yes, it is the 21st of the 6th 2012. It's almost palindrome, is that the right word for it? 21/6/12 when you're writing it in short form in the standard English format. Day, month, year. Was that coincidental? Maybe we'll get into some of that later on. Yes, hello folks, I hope you're alright, I hope you're doing well, and if not, I hope you're getting better, things getting better, hopefully. Yes, fairly long intro. Now that we have the opportunity to utilise this internet radio functionality, we will make use of it. Various shows are starting to creep out there on the FTP network, and we will hopefully be having more soon. Hopefully start to fill up the weekly schedule a bit more, and maybe refill it with rebroadcasts, etc., etc. I think that's something we've talked about before. Yes, but where shall I start? I suppose I should start with the usual. I am not an investigative journalist. I'm not an expert in anything. I'm not trying to sell you anything. And just particularly well, possibly particularly for this show, I am not a shaman, or shaman, however you wish to pronounce it. There's a lot of debate backs and forwards about the correct pronunciation of that word. But I spent far too long procrastinating over a name to give to this show, as if it needs a name, whatever. It's just me rambling, my usual ramble, talking at you. Yes, I will be talking at you a fair bit, but with this system we have, it enables me to throw in a bit more music, which was what I wanted to do. So I will be mixing it up a little bit. I certainly do not have the knowledge, skills, etc. that Red has. He plays his regular music show on a Friday night. If you haven't tuned in for it yet, do so tomorrow night. And of course we've got Blue Bus's show on on Monday nights. But yes, I don't have the skills that Red has to be mixing and mashing stuff up as a DJ, so it might be a bit clunky from me, but I will be playing you some tunes at various points. And I've got a bit more, how shall I put it, I've got quite an eclectic mixture of music and taste and interest in music, so it might be a bit varied. If it's something you don't like, just wait for 4 or 5 minutes and it might probably change to something you do like. Stealing that line from Adonis there. Yes. But anyway, before I start folding back on myself already. Yes, I am not a shaman, but this show is called Virtual Shamanizing. Something I want to go into later on. I'm going to do a mixture of news and me rambling, my usual yogurt weaving, my bearded protestations and procrastinations, my oral truth bukkake in your ear rolls. Make of that what you will. Maybe that's another subject we'll come back to at some point. But I want it to be clear, just because the show is called Virtual Shamanizing, that does not mean I'm attempting to claim that I am a shaman. I have some knowledge of the techniques of classical shamanism from various different aspects, Siberian as well as North American, etc. Just look up shamanism if you're really that interested, read about it, find out about it, and that's the kind of thing I'm referring to, the traditional aspects that is used under that definition. I view it a little bit more of what has been called neo-shamanism, techno-shamanism, cyber-shamanism, whatever word people can attach to the original ism word to manipulate it, and as a lot of the original tribes people have argued, to culturally appropriate the meaning so that you can then manipulate it, pick and mix it into your own new version. But really, isn't that exactly what we do? Isn't that evolution as human beings, a metaphysical evolution of a concept to make it more relevant to your current times and environs? Yes, as I said, something I'll come back to. I can ramble around that kind of subject quite a lot, so I'll try and divert myself quickly before I rush off down that tunnel. Yeah, this is not the Rabbit Hole Show anymore, but I probably will still use those kind of analogies and metaphors, because that's what I do. Chase the rabbit, folks. Let me show you the twisted tunnels that are down there under the surface when you actually start to bother to look and question. Lots and lots of doorways appear. Which one will you choose first? Well, yes, I will also talk about some news. Just in general, maybe some news that you find relevant, but you know, as I've often said many times before, there are plenty of places you can find news and information, etc. So I don't like to fixate upon each individual story too much. I prefer to try and pick out the overarching connections, agendas, themes, memes, trends, whatever you want to call them or define them as. And you'll find on the FlippingThePyramid.co.uk website there is a news section which the guys have been great at keeping updated with interesting news articles. So if you're interested in looking at news articles, go and check it out, please. Now, I'm just looking at it now. I do have many windows open, so I'm trying to minimise the amount of stuff I'm doing with my system, so that hopefully it doesn't cause any interruptions or gremlins in the system. This interwebs technology stuff is all amazing mojo to me, so I use it tentatively in the hope that nothing breaks. But yes, lots of interesting news articles coming out at the moment. Has been for a while. Talked about that lot before as well. The sheer volume of information, the information overload that has been occurring. I note that a lot of the stories, the news articles revolve around the Middle East at the moment. Could talk a lot about that situation, but I think that is, to a degree, part and parcel of what they want you to do. They want you to fixate upon what is going on over there. That classic Iran bugbear. Iran's dangerous, we've got to do something about Iran. Oh, we're moving warships there. Oh, we're moving troops here. Oh, shuffle backs forwards, shuffle backs and forwards, rattle sabres at each other. Oh, look at us people. Oh, we might start something in a minute. Oh. And that is certainly not to belittle the situation or the potential danger and risk of the escalating of what is going on over there at the moment. And for people who maybe have had just primarily mainstream media news, please go out and search out some more independent news and information. When you get the time and inclination, don't believe the bullshit that the main channels are feeding to us at the moment about the situation in the Middle East. There is most definitely a Western agenda, you could say, usually defined as the Anglo-American agenda, but I think it includes most of Europe. Let's not forget those ancient houses and bloodlines that are still shuffling their positions in the chessboard that is Europe. But there is most definitely an agenda to manipulate the information you are receiving, to whip up the war frenzy, to get you all excited and patriotic so that you will back whatever conflict they choose to instigate, whatever intervasion they choose to start. You will back it. War is peace, ignorance is strength. So yes, please do, try and read between the lines, look for alternative news, information, the blogosphere, people on the ground actually there reporting what is going on, rather than listening to the tired old bullshit that comes out of the British Bullshit Corporation, as one example. That is a topic unto itself. Yes. As lots of people have talked about, the good old BBC. Yes, let's not go down that tunnel. It is very dank and murky. Yes, what else was I going to mention before I do anything else? I wanted to say thank you very, very much to all the people that have been involved with Flipping the Pyramid and all the things you've been doing to help it, to set it up, to start it off, to get it rolling. people donating their time and effort and energy and imagination free of charge, people, on a voluntary basis. This is not done because anybody is making money out of it. This is done in people's spare time when they're not at work, or if they're not working, whenever they get the chance. How often, especially at the moment, and especially in the alternative media sphere, how often do we just hear fear-mongering and doom and gloom and the end of the world prophecies, all this kind of usual crap that's thrown around. You don't often hear that many, good stories, nice stories, uplifting, empowering, inspiring, all that kind of good stuff that hopefully you'd like to hear. So anyway, yes, it is another node on the great web that is helping to bring down the barriers, lots and lots of barriers. But yeah, I wanted to say thank you to the I'll call you the FTP family in general. You people know who you are, you know what you're doing, you know what you've done. I also wanted to say thank you to Adonis in particular. He's over at the Fin Network, that's a freedominfonetwork.org. It's a site very similar to our own. It did seem another one of those strange coincidences, folks, coincidences. It does seem that this style of use of the internet has grown rapidly in the past couple of years. There's lots of people out there doing this kind of thing, setting these up as alternatives to what you could describe as the mainstream social media. Let's not mention them by name, shall we? Fookbook, Tracebook, My Twatface, whatever you want to call it. We all know who the guilty culprits are. Those giant virtual entities that dominate the interwebs as they are at the moment. Yes, another subject I'll come back to in a bit. And I wanted to thank Snortle Hans for doing the voiceovers for the fantastic promo clips that he did for us. Check him out on YouTube. That's YouTube channel Snortle Hans. I'm sure you'll find it. If you can't figure out how to spell it, you'll figure it out. It's in there somewhere. And also thank you to Trojan Boy, who put together the little jingles for us. That's given us something to play with. I'm sure you've heard a few of them already. I know I've played them already, so there you go. Oh yes. And hopefully, in terms of talking about shows that might be coming up and starting, I'll put a bit of, what shall we call it, social pressure, peer pressure. No, peer pressure's not right. Maybe social pressure, but hopefully, as I said, we will have more shows coming up soon. Hopefully Keelan will be starting up soon from wideshut.co.uk. A fantastic journalist, in my opinion. He's doing a great job being an independent journalist out there, putting out some good, interesting information, backing it up with good sourcing and investigation. Go and check out his website when you get the chance, please do. So hopefully he will be bringing some material to put forward on the FTP network as well soon. And he's still doing his regular updates on YouTube as well. You can find him on YouTube as well. So yes, have I said enough thank yous? I don't know, you can never say enough thank yous. Sometimes, folks, it's as simple as showing a bit of gratitude, saying thank you. And it doesn't mean just because it's your birthday and you've got a present. You know what I'm saying. Oftentimes I find that a lot of what I say to people is simply telling them simple truths that they already know within themselves anyway. That is one of those simple truths. Show some gratitude. Yes, the world can be shit. Yes, the governments and whoever else, all these people are in the background, in the back rooms, in those smoky private clubs, etc., etc. Yeah, they can throw a hell of a lot of crap at you. but you're still here. Your situation isn't as bad as some people on the planet, is it? Yeah, highly debatable. Let's be grateful for what we do have. I'm going to play another tune, which I feel is appropriate. Some of the stuff that's been going on in the UK at the moment, well, just in general, whatever. Play a tune for you. You might have heard it before. I know the regulars are bound to have heard it before. I will be back in approximately 4 minutes. Well, hopefully you got me back. Sorry about that, folks. Don't know why the one file didn't want to play properly, so it didn't seem to feed through the audio correctly, so I quickly skipped to another one. Cool, still loud and clear, thank you in the chat room. Yes, Akala, find no enemy. I think it's rather appropriate to a lot of the stuff that's going on at the moment. That fracturing of society, another subject I will come back to in a bit. Yes, as somebody mentioned Stonehenge in the chat room, I was going to remind people it is the solstice today. I think it officially started late last night, wasn't it? But yeah, counts as today, I think, the 21st. Yeah, so we are past the tipping point of the centre of the year. Now you're facing that slow slide down towards the end of the year, and I'm not going to mention that date, you know. Let's not add more weight to that meme. I think people will guess what I'm referring to. We shall see what we shall see, whether there will be some kind of mass change. Seeing some sort of, as when they talk about the economy, you could say, oh, we're seeing green shoots of recovery. Maybe we could say we're seeing green shoots of change. Is that possible? Debatable? But yes, I hope you're having a nice solstice, folks. Supposedly longest day of the year, all that kind of stuff. Very, very loosely connected, mainly just because it's referring to the globe and its environments. For people in the chat room, I'll give you a link to this if the link will work. Oh, posted twice, sorry. And it looks like it broke the link anyway. Pants. Oh well. If you search for it, you'll probably find it. It's come up, a couple of days ago, I think it was. The 18th. On the Fail Online. Yeah, the dailymail.co.uk, unfortunately. Just so those people listening who can't see the link have something to reference when I'm talking about this. Just an amazingly double-speak propaganda piece, the title of which is The Transatlantic Jet Trails Visible from Space, How Contrails Can Stay in the Sky for up to 14 hours. Yeah, 18th of June, yeah, it come out, I thought it was a couple of days ago. Just where to start with this article. If you're interested in seeing the pictures are very interesting. The blurb that goes along with them, not so much so, unless you want to see some simplistic propaganda. I do find it interesting, some of the stuff they said though. I was reading Zen Gardner's post about it. It's just some of the comments. The climate scientists are fascinated by long-lived spreading contrails. Have they only just become fascinated then, within the last couple of decades? Because when I was a kid, it didn't happen. There's no scientists interested in long-lasting contrails because long-lasting contrails didn't happen. So is this like a recent scientific interest that they've developed? Recent, coinciding with the fact that these things are appearing in our skies? I'm not going to go into a long ramble or rant about what they are, what they could be, whether they are or not, or blah 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 blah. Go and look into it for yourself if you're interested. From my perspective, the skies never looked like that when I was a kid. The science that explains contrails does not match up to what we're seeing in our skies day after day. The cross-hatching of the sky just doesn't follow logical sense and the laws of physics unless there's something else going on that is not what would normally be called a contrail. Yes, anyway. Brilliant Daily Mail, you know. Good old Daily Mail. Throw out the shit. Yes, let's close that page. Reduce the strain on my system of supporting that crap. Obviously, as I said earlier, there's lots of stuff going on in the news. We're living in the information age. You can saturate yourself with this stuff if you want to. Be very, very careful that you don't fall into an OCD type experience of being obsessive over every little news article that comes out. It would be, if not impossible, I think it would be exceedingly difficult for somebody to track everything that's going on. You'll drive yourself crazy if you attempt to do so. But yes, a few stories that just sort of caught my attention. That one for one, just simply because it was silliness. The comments underneath the article are quite interesting though, to see the sheer amount of people that are actually, you know, pointing out that those are chemtrails, not contrails. But yes, anyway. I would attempt to copy and paste if it works. Another link. This was one from the Activist Post, activistpost.com. I think that was up today. The article itself isn't exactly amazing. It's just more the fact that it's reporting on the ongoing situation. The title of the article, if you go and look for it, is Monsanto faced with paying $7.5 billion back to farmers. As I say, ongoing situation. So I'm sort of slightly following a tenuous thread of stuff to do with the condition of the globe, the biosphere, etc. Monsanto, if you don't know about Monsanto, please go and look, find out about it, investigate it. They're a nasty, dirty example of the worst kinds of corporatism that this current environment that we're living in is being affected by. And of course that includes you and I. You are part of the environment. A highly unpleasant company. But yes, hopefully some of the people that have been attempting to bring litigation against them for various reasons are starting to make headway. Could talk about the whole legal system, litigation, etc., but at least they're making a difference in the sense of they are nibbling away at that corporation, and these kind of events are keeping the information in the public eye, so that people are constantly watching this corporation, which, you know, while we may not be able to stop them in their tracks at the moment, we can certainly keep an eye on all the crap that they're doing. And of course, they're not the only one. There's lots and lots of corporations out there doing lots of unpleasantness, various places on the globe. There was also recently, I think it was Exxon, were being sued in South America for oil spillage and the environmental destruction, purely as per usual with these corporations, because they're trying to make as much profit as possible. That's what corporations do. That's all they're concerned with, is making profit. Everything else is negligible. Everything else is collateral damage. Profit is all that matters. That's why you can never ever allow corporations to be equated to people, because if you do, they will just eat the entire world, including you. They will not stop until they've turned everything into a piece of paper with a monetary sign stamped on it. Yes, but as I say, hopefully those people are actually making headway in getting some almost justice. It's at least something. Yes. What else have I been looking at? This was sort of connected in with the one track that I tried to play, the file that I tried to play that didn't play properly. But in the news, I've got one particular article, but it's not the only one that's been talking about this. This particular news has been all over the place out on the interwebs. Facebook, Forkbook, Tracebook, whatever you want to call it, acquiring more facial recognition software. I say more because they've already got some. Obviously, they want better, they want more. And make what you will of the connections to the fact that the software company they've just bought up is an Israeli-based company. Fantastic computer people over there that gave us Stuxnet and now arguably Flame as well. The evidence is piling up to say that they had a hand in the creation of that. This is, I think, as people probably aware, that if they're regular listeners, that I rant about this subject quite a lot, because to me it's one of the main things that we can physically see around us, even though in this respect it's talking about the virtual environment, but it's part and parcel of your daily life. You can almost reach out and touch it. We're not talking about rarefied philosophical arguments about what the agenda might be or might not be doing and whether it's caused this, that or the other time. No, this is, you can actually reach out and touch this. Even though, yes, as I say, talking about a piece of software on a computer, therefore virtual, but it will affect your life. Unbeknownst to you now, anybody who has you in a picture that's on Facebook, whether you're the centre of that picture or just somebody in the background, your face will get logged and tagged and tracked and added to their database files, all that kind of good stuff. Add you into the crunchy number section. Just it does leave me somewhat unusually for me, I know, because I know I talk a lot, but it does often leave me stumped sometimes as to the almost unsatiable desire. It's almost a lustful desire that some people seem to exhibit for this kind of stuff, to the sense of the slave asking for more punishment. It's just like, do people not see how much risk this involves, yet they seem to be clamouring for it? More and more the social media generation seems saturated with a virtual existence rather than a real life existence. There was a nice little meme picture that spread not that long ago with the title "The Outer Net." Rather than the internet, you had the outer net. Instead of Facebook, it was the local community park. Instead of Wikipedia, it was the library. Basically trying to point out to people that all these various things that we do online, you can actually do in real life. And is the online virtual version as good as real life? I think they want you to think it is. They would certainly like you to believe it is. I wonder why that is. Yes, but similar, that article on the Activist Post, again, similar, it's not exactly telling people a whole lot new, but it is just sort of pointing out of what is going on. How much they are already tracking all this data. You know, I've been ranting about this kind of stuff for a few years, so certainly a few years. So if people think this is all just new and only happening now because the UK government says they want the ability to track and trace you and all, that's simply so that they can legitimise bringing such evidence into a courtroom against you. They want you to give up all your information. Privacy? There is no privacy anymore. Well, there's only the privacy that you can attempt to claim for yourself. Just how much privacy you actually have anymore, you know. And yes, that's a completely separate debate. If you got nothing to hide, what you worried about? Oh, you got nothing to hide. Yes, I got nothing to hide. Only my tail's covered in shit. Sorry. Yes, I will swear sometimes. If you don't like swearing, I'm afraid that's just tough titty. Yes, I will take an executive order on that, I think. One more link to make it work. Multitasking. There we go. I saw this on another site at first, but trace the source back to RT, so I'm linking the RT article originally. This in relation to the Fast and Furious debacle that's going on at the moment in the USA. Title of the article is Obama bars Congress from obtaining Fast and Furious papers. Yes, interesting, isn't it? Why don't they want them to see those papers? Do you mean it really was all a set-up? Oh dear, oh no, believe us, no it wasn't, but you're not allowed to see the papers. No. And as other people on other websites have already pointed out, it's somewhat reminiscent of Nixon. I'm not a crook. Yes, oh blah blah, he's certainly making a name for himself, and I don't think it's a name that he originally pretended to have. But I thought that was interesting simply because of the fact that it, for me, yeah, my perspective, my opinion, it does sort of reinforce the already suspected possibility. Yes, it's a conspiracy theory, folks. You better put your tinfoil hat on. Make sure there's nobody outside listening. You know, check under the bins, check under your bed. There might be somebody there. Ooh. Yes, that conspiracy theory that the Fast and Furious was deliberately enacted to allow them to cause problems within their own borders, so that therefore they could bring in further legislation to crack down on gun ownership, etc. And no, I'm not going to go into the whole argument about gun ownership, but the actual effects of that, what would you call it, project? The Fast and Furious project, the actual effects of that, it's left a very bloody trail, which people have been following and investigating, and guess where all the trails lead back to? Yes, why is it they don't want you to see those papers? No, you're not allowed to see them. You might be able to find evidence in them. Yes, anyway. Enough silliness. Well, that was just a little selection of the news that I would sort of took notice of and looked at. One other one which Smokey J gave me a link to earlier, which I think is somewhat interesting, from the RT. Uruguay to sell marijuana to take profits from dealers. Just in case people haven't seen it, give you the link in the chat room. If you go and mooch the rt.com website, look for that title, you can find it that way. Interesting to me because, for one thing, I haven't really heard much about the whole cannabis situation in Uruguay. It's interested in that respect, but also the fact that, yeah, you know, you want to mess up the drug war. You want to really make a difference in the drug war. You don't honestly believe all this bullshit that the government feeds you about the drug war, do you? Have you actually bothered spending any time investigating the drugs they talk about, the drug war itself, etc., etc.? If you want some recent interesting articles in that vein, please go and check out wideshut.co.uk. Keelan's done a couple of good articles recently about cannabis and the legalisation or decriminalisation or classification, etc., of said drug. So the government will be selling it in Uruguay. I would prefer personally to see the use of the herb be decriminalised. Basically, it's not illegal. Why has it even been made illegal? You know, let's leave that argument to one side. That's another separate topic unto itself. But actually, I will, when I finish rambling, play an appropriate track for that. But yes, that means the government will be making money out of it, but, you know, leave the statist arguments aside. At least they're taking any potential profits away from those people who will happily break the laws, whether that be legislative, governmental, statute, legal, etc., or do they mean common law, you know, the good peace of the people, the right to have a peaceful existence, etc. Yeah, they're taking money away from people who are prepared to break that peace. People who are prepared to do anything just to make money, to have some of those bits of paper with fancy symbols printed on them. So, could that be a good thing? Well, hopefully we'll see. Obviously, it really does hinge on the government of Uruguay. Yes, we'll see. But it could be a step in the right direction. Not that I'm advocating legalisation in this country, no, because if you do, they will tax it. It'll cost more than petrol. Does your petrol cost enough already? Yeah. Even though the price of oil has been steadily dropping recently, has your price at the pump really gone down that much? Not a lot. Maybe a penny or two here and there. Oh dear. Bend over. Stick that pump nozzle up your butthole. And they will pump away quite happily. Yes, anyway, then I'm going to play a track that's relevant to the cannabis subject. This is from MIDI Intellect. Thank you to MIDI and Emerge. Got a few videos of their spitting out some bars in London live on the streets. Check them out if you want, but I will play this track anyway. I think it's very relevant.
I feel better fast.
We are flipping the pyramid. Flipping the pyramid.
Listen to me, please.
I take 4 o'clock spliff break, and I feel better fast. Oh, yeah, that's a brilliant track from MIDI. Go and check him out, folks. Some very interesting lyrics, great lyrics. And yes, if you haven't, if you have the time and inclination, check out Bayer AG. Highly dubious corporation. So where are we now? Looking at my notes. Yes, I'm a little bit rambling for this first episode. I'm only just building up the structure of what I'm going to do with this. So, work in progress, as are a lot of things. But we're going along together. I've been taking great inspiration from Adonis and what he's doing over at the Fin Network with his regular broadcasts, and he's keeping it rolling. He's he's a great guy. Check out his shows if you get the chance. And with what's been happening at FlippingThePyramid.co.uk, it has been inspirational for me, being around other people working as a group, getting things like this going, up and running, and being involved with doing all that. Yes, anyway, it sort of connects into what I was going to talk about. We'll ramble around for, let's see, we're already gone 10 o'clock, that's alright then. I've been doing my usual. Once I get going, I don't notice really the time ticking past, and I usually forget about something, but we'll get there eventually. Now, I wanted to read a little bit from the Anti-Terrorist Handbook. I found this quite an interesting read, worth having a read if you get the chance. I'm not trying to advertise, but interesting book, yes. I wanted to read this one little bit. Sort of a general commentary on the state of society, let's put it that way. But it revolves primarily around schools, the general sort of situation in our education system at the moment. And I do think he's referencing definitely the Western cultures. But anyway, things that you might have been a few decades ago, things that you might have got into trouble for doing in school, your average school crime, let's put it that way. A few decades ago, 2-3 decades ago, would have been, it's quite a short list: talking, chewing gum, making noise, running in the halls, getting out of turning line, wearing improper clothing, littering. That's it. And this obviously is, generalising. It's not going into every little detail of reported crimes. This was the general naughty behaviour in schools a few decades ago. Compare that to today. Polls now list top public school offences as rape, robbery, arson, assault, burglary, bombings, murder, suicide. Not sure why that's in as an offence, although it is an offence in some countries. Absenteeism, that's not too bad, is it? Vandalism, extortion, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, gang warfare, unwanted pregnancies, abortion, and venereal diseases. Nice little list of 17 points there. Some of them a little bit questionable as offences, but anyway, you get the general idea. So, is this just the general progression of generations? What our parents did in school as what you would call naughty behaviour, breaking the rules, was a lot more nice, a lot more simple. Is it romanticising the past? If you read the book itself, you'll have a bit more idea in that respect. I don't think he's talking from generalisations that he's plucked out of the air. This is actually relating to the polls of the demographics of offences within modern school system. And as I said, it's not to say that the worst kind of crimes weren't happening a few decades ago, but they certainly weren't the dominating themes of those crimes a few decades ago. No way, they're few and far between, very rare occurrences, etc., etc. So what is going on here? Is this purely the evolutionary process of our education system being crammed with more and more and more students, such that it ends up in this degree of saturation, such that the people within it start turning in on each other? But to link it back round to something I said right at the start, I am not a shaman, but I view some of what is classically defined as shamanism as part and parcel of what I do. Like I said, I'm not claiming to be a shaman. I'm not. I'm not a member of any original tribes people. I don't have any cultural heritage that I can cling to, etc. I am merely appropriating those aspects that seem appropriate or seem to be truisms to what I feel is actually going on around me and what I am involved in investing my energy in. Recently, broadcast last night was the rebroadcast of a project that Adonis and I have sort of been working around, called Ecstatic Zen, which really is a forum for the two of us to just speak openly and candidly about things we're thinking about, etc. But with a certain framing to it, because we both have similar viewpoints on many aspects of the current situation we're in and what's going on, etc., all that kind of stuff. And I've often talked about I do not plan what I'm going to do or what I'm going to say. I make a few notes which are generally just the links that I often give to people, plus a few short sentences, words here and there, just to jog my memory of things I wanted to talk about. But other than that, I allow it to flow. And Adonis and me were talking about the flow, etc. That's available on the podcast. I think it's up on Mixcloud at the moment. If you didn't catch it last night, you can go and grab it from there and listen to it. But that, for me, is the shamanistic aspect that, for myself, emanates in a bardic fashion just by the fact that I talk about and around these subjects. I don't sing. I'm not that kind of bard. But anyway, yes, before I digress off into something else, the use of the holy herb, use the word holy loosely, don't want to attach any connotations, for me is part and parcel of that. That particular track from MIDI was more referencing the medicinal benefits or potentialities of the use of cannabis, as has been argued for a long time. Zero deaths from cannabis throughout the traceable history of its use. And yet, here we are still arguing about it's illegal, the demon weed, reefer madness, and all that propaganda crap. And still, even so, even experts themselves, people that fit into that agendized, academic, indoctrinated institutionalized behemoth that is our educational system, our sanctified educational system. Even experts within their own ranks, people that have the bit of paper that says you are a professor, you are so good at this subject, we grant you the title and the special hat and the name that you could call yourself professor. Even professors are turning around and saying, why is this drug illegal? Why is this herb made illegal? It makes no sense. It's counterintuitive as well as counter the evidence. And yet here we are. But in relation to the little list of crimes I read out from the Anti-Terrorist Handbook, there was more just to ground it in the physical world, the touchable world, the experiential world that, you know, most people go through day by day. You may not have children in school, but you probably have children living near you. You probably have a school near you. You probably see school children moving about day by day as they go back and forwards to school, etc. And that list, I felt, was a good example of that shifting degradation, the fragmentation of the what once would have been a intrinsic part of society has become encapsulated and sectioned off and compartmentalized into this mechanized system to churn out a certain kind of mindset, a certain type of brain, a certain way of thinking. Yes, I will sometimes use cliches. I quite often use quotes, etc., because I find it saves longer conversations. If somebody said it in a good way, why ignore the fact that, you know, they've encapsulated an idea or a concept in a good way? You pass that information on. But that churning out of sheeple who fall readily into line, into the hamster wheel where they forever chase their retirement, that golden land, the Shangri-La of the retirement age, which the age of which certainly in this country is gradually creeping up, and in most of the European countries, I think, with the good old austerity measures. It's a recession, you know, we're in a recession. There is no recession, there's just a global heist going on. That's what's happening, folks. All those people sat at the top with the most amount of money are trying to grab as much as possible before the whole thing falls apart. It's not austerity, it's theft. Yes, before I digress. That social fragmentation is expressed, I felt, in the way you can view the social demographics of what is occurring in the environment around you, your social environment, you know, the anthropogenic environment, that society that's built up of people. You live in an environment of people. Is that a good reflection? I'd say good as in it's a good example, not that it itself is good. Is it a good reflection of the way our societies are caving in on themselves? Are they caving in on themselves? Yeah, debatable topic, but considering the global civil unrest, and again, folks, please, you know, try looking a bit further than your mainstream media. Don't just allow yourself to be spoon-fed. Question, go and check out for yourself, investigate and research, etc. That global civil unrest, I feel, seems to be reflecting that gradual fragmentation, social deprecation. It's a subject we were talking about recently. I was at the time I was rambling around the idea of cities. Cities were great in the industrial age because they allowed a big workforce to be in a local area to fill the factories that were required to power the Industrial Revolution, to churn out all the stuff that the once great British Empire needed to spread its tentacles across the planet. Yeah, they worked great then. But I think we're a bit beyond cities now. Cities now have become a cancerous effect on the environment around them. They nowhere near produce as much as they suck in. They are black holes. They absorb the environment that is around them and beyond themselves. The rise of governments, council, boroughs, buying tracts of land in third world countries to utilise for farming, to grow crops for their own population or some other productivity that they can't produce on their own doorstep because there literally isn't enough land for them to do it with, because the land has been bought up for other stuff or already owned by various powerful groups such as the Crown Estate. So we're left in this situation where those who have the ability, i.e. those who sit at the top of the pyramid, can see this collapse coming. I feel they know very well. Whether it's engineered to this stage, yeah, that's a separate discussion, I think. But the point for this is that they know it's coming. They are scrabbling to grab as much as they can. They are reaching as far as they can in a blitzkrieg fashion to stamp their ownership on all the resources that they think they'll need, that they want to remove from the reach of their particular enemies in that grand chess game. And you're just Joe Bloggs at the bottom of the pyramid. You're just another cog in the machine. As long as you fulfill your function within that hinterland machine, and that's all well and good. Other than that, they don't really care. You're just another electronic part, or mechanical part, biomechanical part within their machine. As long as you keep functioning, as long as you don't cause the machine too many problems, they'll quite happily ignore you. And if you disappear, oh well, never mind. Here's some more they've just bred and indoctrinated to fill the gap. Yes, before I ramble into too much ranting, talking generally around the idea of virtual shamanizing. Virtual shamanizing, the use of sonic frequencies. Are we sort of electronic at the moment? I'm going through a phase of being electronic as I get passed from my microphone to your speakers. But we are altering frequencies. This is something that I am still have been for the past over a month now been working on, trying to write a blog post, article, whatever you want to call it, about recent experience I had with my first encounter with ayahuasca. And since then I have been, how shall I put it, thinking in a much more liquid fashion. I know that's going to sound really odd, but for any of the people out there who have experienced ayahuasca, it might make very good sense. But I've found that my approach to looking at the topics that I do generally look at and usually talk about certainly has, I was going to say solidified, but that doesn't really match with the element of water, does it? But it has certainly coalesced even more so about the threads, the trends, what I tend to refer to as the agenda, the machine, etc., almost as if it has reinforced the things I was seeing in the first place, as if something was almost ephemeral, mist, like a mist before your eyes. You could almost make it out, like a phantom trying to appear before you. It has gradually coalesced more and more. Yes, we could get into a long discussion about confirmation bias and faith and belief systems and whatever else topic you want to throw in there. You carry on, go for your life, fill your boots. Yeah, I think it has helped me a lot. It's just that it's a very, very difficult experience to relay in words, and in that respect, yeah, like I said, I've been working for quite a while on trying to get this blog finished, and I still haven't quite finished it. I will finish it as soon as I can and get it posted on the website, but trying to pin down these experiences into words is rather difficult. So in the same manner, when you start to look at the wider picture, I stumble a little bit here because it sounds very condescending and very elitist and very arrogant, and all those things you should keep and bear in mind when you carry your torch down those pathways, down those tunnels. Don't allow you to get too egotistical. Don't allow yourself to fall into that trap of thinking, I have the answer, I have found the answer, this is it, I know it all now. It's a very easy trap to fall into if you're not keeping an eye out for it. So those little questions that flutter around your ears, saying, "Are you sure? Are you sure you're not just, just because you want to believe it? That's why it makes sense. No, you should question a bit more. Check. Yes." And such is what I mean by liquid thinking. You allow your thoughts to flow from one into another. They connect, they make many connections. But anyway, stop rambling and get back to what I was talking about. My use of the term shamanism and the attitude that I try to utilise it through, the filter I try to utilise it through, is to not so much utilise it as a healing technique as it is traditionally in the classical definition of what is a shaman, but I do see much to do with healing that relates to frequencies and the use and manipulation of frequencies and the understanding that we are all just frequencies of energy. I don't want to trip you up too much, folks, throwing major things at you like that, but that's up to you to consider as and when you will. The use of frequencies, the use of the communication of those frequencies, that's what we do by using language, by using art, the technologies that we have that enable it or further enable it, such as what we do now, the internet. The digital use and manipulation of frequencies. We're going through a period where I feel it is undeniable that we're going through some kind of shift in the way we live. Now, a purely materialistic point of view of that would be, we're going through such technological and social changes and it is radically affecting the way we live, and it's not the way it used to be. Yes, I think that's fair enough, that's a fair point. I would agree that is occurring at the moment, but I feel, and yes, me being me, as I've said before, please, be aware, I am a theist, however you want to describe what it is you choose to believe in or have a perception of or whatever, that's up to you. But Yes, I think it goes further than just the physical environment and interactions that we exist in, the physical reality we exist in. That, for me, is the place where what I call shamanism, neo-shamanism, cyber-shamanism, whatever you want to define it as, what I call shamanism, is approaching a healing of that aspect that is beyond the physical. In a traditional sense, that is, going on spirit quests, soul quests, vision quests, whatever you want to call it. I feel that is something that is happening on a global scale, not just from my own personal point of view. Maybe that is a confirmation bias, a reality tunnel. I feel that I do question myself enough to hopefully not fall into that trap. And I also interact with people that question me enough to hopefully not allow me to fall into that trap. But this is just sharing of perspectives, and that is part and parcel of the interaction, the communication of frequencies. So what is it we're seeing reflected in the environment around us? In that basic materialistic 3D reality environment, what's going on? All this civil unrest, all this fragmentation, all this chaos, all this destruction. Seems to be a very a great cacophony of frequencies of disharmony. Do we see that reflected in the way, for example, that list of offences in school from recent decades compared to previous decades? Is that what we are witnessing? That discordant outpouring? Because we've reached a point where the primary drive of the combined frequencies has been led down a very discordant route to where we are now. I've often talked before about the New World Order, all those classic good old memes and labels. Even if you look at it from a purely materialistic, hard, factual, data, informational, kind of atheistic, humanistic point of view, there are some people on this planet who have access to and control over vast wealth, which gives them vast power and influence, and they live in a completely separate world to everybody else, and they have somewhat strange and most often destructive ideas about what they want to do with the world. Because as far as they're concerned, it's their world. You're just in the way. You're just the extra detritus. You are the slave labour that makes the cogs turn. That's all they care about. And like I said, there's plenty of you. There's what, 7 billion? So are we watching and part of something that is shifting in the realisation of that cacophony of clashing frequencies? We talked in the roundtable discussion about the whole 2012 meme idea, all that kind of stuff, and we did sort of mention stuff about ascension and all those good stuff, memes. Look into it for yourself, decide for yourself, think about it for yourself. Don't just allow yourself to be spoon-fed. Obviously, you will come to your own decisions. But I feel we are part and parcel of and witness to certainly a change in the way we live, as I said earlier. What the effects will be of that, we've yet to see. I'm hoping it won't be use the simple label, the New World Order agenda that ends up still sitting on top. Not that there should be anyone sitting on top. That is flipping the pyramid. Let's just get rid of the pyramid altogether. It's proven itself to be far too dysfunctional not very useful to certainly not to the whole, even if, you know, to slightly for some of the minority, but certainly not a helpful design. Yes, and while I'm rambling here, I'm looking for an appropriate track to play. We'll give you some more music after I've just rambled a fair amount of yogurt weaving into your heads there, I think. Yes, wasn't it? Just a little bit. So this is the danger when you give me access to almost unlimited airtime to talk at you. You know, you always have the option to turn it off. Just press... Oh, yeah. Did you press the button? Oh, that's good. You're still there. Okay, then. I'm going to play another track just to give you some breathing space, and so that you don't fall asleep. I'm always accused of putting people to sleep. But yes, here's a track for you, folks. Where is my mind? Yes, do you have it? Tell me where it is. I'll see if I can find it. Yeah, that was the Pixies, Where Is My Mind? Hopefully you can still hear me. Let me know in the chat room. I know I'm losing my voice. Maybe 2 hours was a bit of a optimistic stretch, but I don't think so. Not the way I ramble. And yeah, I might end up playing some more tunes at you. Certainly will before the end anyway, but I only got like 20 minutes left to go. So anyway, yes, I wanted to get back to, I thought I should mention or continue on with rambling around the shamanism thing. You know, a couple of points I certainly wanted to add in. Yes, I've been working on this blog post, piece of writing, whatever you want to call it. But I thought I may as well just attempt to at least give you some idea now in a verbal fashion as to how I felt the experience went, etc. Because it might add in somewhat to some of the stuff I've talked about. I drank what would be considered the classical style of ayahuasca. It was a brewed drink that we drank. We were served it during the course of one session, because while I was at the retreat we did it twice, 2 nights in succession. Each time we would be served ayahuasca at least 3 times during the course of that evening session, but it was there available basically whenever you wanted. If you wanted some more, the guides there would bring you some more, etc. If for those people interested as to taste, etc., to be honest, it didn't taste as bad as I was expecting, and certainly not as bad as a lot of people have commented on where I've read about it or listened to before. Sorry, just licking papers for paperwork. Yeah, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. Very earthy taste, quite bitter, but certainly not something that you would be, you know, wanting to get rid of in any kind of extreme way. You know, it didn't. The actual taste itself did not make you want to throw up. Well, not myself anyway. Did go through a period of what is called purging, which for most of the time is usually that you do actually vomit, but it isn't always vomiting. Sometimes purge can emanate in other ways, such as fluctuations in temperature or emotions. You know, you might burst out laughing or burst out crying, or there's some form of expelling that happens. It's not always necessarily just the contents of your stomach. But beyond that, yes, the actual journeying itself. I've done other psychoactive drugs. To a certain degree it did feel somewhat similar to psilocybin mushrooms. but that similarity disappears fairly quickly. It's only, I feel, that the initial sort of beginning of the experience is similar to the kind of fuzzy euphoria that you get with psilocybin mushrooms, that almost fuzzy skin effect. After that, everything becomes very, very, very much in your head. There are physical effects, and if you have your eyes open and you look around the world, yes, you will see visual effects. I didn't get any extreme visual effects, but I did get things like moving wallpaper type hallucination. No, they weren't truly hallucinations, you know, it was more just a general wobbliness of the environment, which again, if you've had other similar psychoactive drugs, you'll know what I mean. But if you allow the experience, if you allow yourself to go with the journey, and you close your eyes and relax into the experience, it becomes very, very much internal, introspective. You are very much entertained by what is going on in your own head, that you don't need to be dancing around and looking at strange pictures and stuff like that. Yeah. The actual sort of how to describe it, the inner eye virtual theatre can be as kaleidoscopic as you allow it to be. You can, again, I can only think of that way of describing it, that inner eye virtual theatre, that movie screen that you have in your imagination will be absolutely filled with anything you can imagine, and you know full well that it's part and parcel of the thought processes that are happening in your own head, yet it is like being on a river, a liquid environment where you will shift from one thing to the next at a rapid pace, but it all seems to knit together, to gel together. It is very, very much like lucid dreaming, and I've read of it described in that way before. You know, DMT has a lot to do with your dream states, etc., and ayahuasca that's what it works on, DMT. So it is a very, very similar experience to being in a dream state, but you have a lot, if not total, control over that dream environment. So, as they do in dreams, often completely surreal landscapes or objects or environments will appear where that in everyday life obviously would make you completely freak out, but in a dream state it all seems completely normal, and you just, you go through the dream and accept it as being there. But in this fashion, you have, through the ayahuasca, you have that much greater option of choice. You may see something in your visual environment and think, what's that? And your thought would automatically, like the river itself, changing its course to go towards where your interest is. And the flow of thoughts would then continue from there, and it would create whole new environments. Again, like I say, in a kaleidoscopic fashion. From my own personal experience, as I've been trying to write in that piece, there's some things that I sort of saw or experienced or went through. Again, you can't say it's just seeing or hearing or whatever, which I'll keep personal to myself. I think, for most people, as far as I know, I haven't read about or spoke to anybody yet who's tried ayahuasca who didn't have something similar. There will be things that, are personal and private, and it doesn't alter the outward experience that you can share with other people. It is difficult to describe, but you will just know that that is for you. If that makes sense, and you can't reply to me because I'm talking at you. But anyway, yeah, I did have, again, as seems to be a recurrent theme with the use of ayahuasca, certainly, and with other similar substances, I did have an experience of a presence which I could only describe as being female for totally unrelatable reasons. It's not like I saw a physical form of a female or anything like that. No, not at all. It was purely just a feeling of a presence, and I just seemed to know that it was a female presence. Plus, with other things that occurred during that experience, to me it seemed this is most definitely female energy. It's the only way I could describe it. So I did sort of have what others have described an encounter with Mama Aya or Pachamama or Gaia or whatever other name or definition perspective you wish to put onto it. It seems to be a common and recurring theme with the use of this substance. But it did give me, after the fact, after the experience, attempting to digest the experience, think about it, consider it, contemplate the things I saw and experienced. It has left me somewhat at a pause to a certain degree, because it will show you things that will leave you thinking about stuff. I think that's pretty much universal in people's descriptions of their own personal experiences with it. But as I was talking about earlier, I think before I went to play the song, it's given me much more of a calcified overview of some of the things that I have been looking at for a long time. And for myself personally, yes, opinion, my own opinion, it has given me a good enough inspiration towards what, for example, I am doing here now. It makes more sense to me, if I can put it that way. Well, it makes sense to me. That's all that matters from that respect. So, yes, I think I've rambled about that enough. I will, like I said, I have been working on it. I will try and get that finished as soon as I can, and I'll post it on the blog section on the website, flippingthepyramids.co.uk. Yes, I would certainly do it again, put it that way. Some people have asked me, would you do it again? Yes, I would. It is certainly something I would recommend if you are so inclined and you have no medical concerns as to why not. I think it can be a very beneficial and healthy experience when treated in the right way. This sort of connects into topics that we've talked about or mentioned before. I think it was mentioned on the podcast that's hosted on the website. We have, to a large degree in this society, removed our connection to or place for those people that used to be considered elders, those people that in a tribal environment would have helped people through this kind of experience to help themselves. It's long been argued from a scientific point of view that many of these substances can be used to great effect to help people who have mental problems and issues. It seems to have a curative effect when used in the right way, in the right conditions. And yet again, similar to cannabis, here we still are with these substances being illegal. Are we helping ourselves with these laws? Oh, I really don't think so. Yes, maybe that's a subject for another time, the drug war and the manipulation of that just how much profit is made out of the drug war, and for whom, you should question. Yeah, I said earlier, if you don't know about Bayer AG, have a look into Bayer AG. Quite interesting history there with them, that company. Yes, I think I will be nearly time. I will pick another track to play for you, and then I'll be winding to a close. Thank you for coming and listening to me. If you're live in the chat room, or if you're listening on the podcast, thank you for taking the time to listen. Hopefully we might have jogged some neurons, sparked some ideas, inspired something, even if that is just, making you want to have a laugh and go, oh my god, this crazy bearded fool is rambling, yogurt weaving nonsense again. Yes, well, at least then we can be entertaining. Hopefully we'll be back again next week. Please come back tomorrow night for Red's music show. He will mix up some good tunes with his super DJ skills, get the weekend started, kick back and enjoy some music, enjoy some sonic frequency therapy. Yeah, spark one up if you got one. Get yourself ready. For those of you that work, of course, the weekend has much more meaning. For those without work, weekends tend to just blur into the rest of the week. But even so, you'll still enjoy the music. And don't forget, Blue Bus will be back again on Monday. And hopefully, like I said, we will have more shows coming up soon. We'll prod people into motivation, hopefully. And will, as I said, this show will be called Virtual Shamanizing for now. I might change it. That's just what I'm like, procrastinating. And we'll see how we go with playing tunes and stuff like that. I may very well fiddle around with the format a bit, what I'm doing, etc. But anyway, yes, please go and check out the website, check out the other links, check out the other suggested websites that are linked on the site as well, and the files and the video section. Just have a mooch around, find something to interest you. Maybe you'll learn something again, maybe you might get inspired for something. But anyway, I'll play my preferred swan song tune, and I'll catch you again next week, folks. Keep evolving.